Hello and welcome. In this video, let us explore and understand psychological defense mechanisms, uses of knowing about them, and coping with maladaptive ones. So, what are psychological defense mechanisms? They are unconscious psychological processes that help individuals cope with emotional distress and anxiety. These mechanisms are automatic and can manifest in variety of ways. Let us look into few common and important defense mechanisms one by one. The first one is avoidance. Avoidance is a defense mechanism that involves avoiding or escaping from a situation, thought, or feeling that is perceived as unpleasant or threatening. For example, a person who avoids social situations or public speaking because they feel anxious or fearful in such situations. Similarly, a person who avoids thinking about a traumatic experience or painful memory by distracting themselves with work, hobbies, or other activities. The next one is blaming. It is a defense mechanism which involves assigning responsibility or fault to someone else for one's own shortcomings, mistakes, or failures. For example, a student blaming teacher for not explaining the concepts well instead of his or her own preparation for getting low grades. The next one is compartmentalization. It is a defense mechanism that involves separating different aspects of one's life or emotions into distinct isolated compartments. For example, a person who has a stressful job may compartmentalize their work from their personal life and avoid discussing work related stress with their family or friends. Similarly, a person who has a difficult, say, family situation may compartmentalize their emotions and avoid discussing their family problems at work or with their friends. The next one is compensation. It is a defense mechanism that involves making up for a perceived weakness or limitation in one area of life by emphasizing strengths in other areas. It can be conscious or unconscious process. It is used to protect self-esteem and maintain positive self-image. For example, a person who is physically weak may compensate by developing exceptional mental or artistic abilities. The next one is denial. Denial is a defense mechanism that involves rejecting or denying the reality or truth of a situation. For example, a person who has a serious addiction like smoking or drinking may deny that they have a problem or insist that their smoking or drinking is not causing any harm and that they can quit at any time they want to. The next one is displacement. Displacement is a defense mechanism that involves redirecting one's emotions or impulses from stressful situation or original source to a substitute target or less threatening object or person. For example, a person who is angry with their boss may come home and take out their frustration on their partner. Next one is dissociation. It is a defense mechanism that involves disconnecting from one's thoughts, feelings, memories, or sense of identity in response to a stressful or traumatic event. For example, a person who has a phobia or extreme fear may disconnect from their emotions and feel numb in order to avoid feeling overwhelmed by their fear. A person who has a history of childhood abuse may have difficulty remembering certain events from their past or may feel as if they are watching their memories from a distance. Next one is idealization. It is a defense mechanism that involves seeing people or things as perfect without acknowledging any flaws or imperfections. For example, a person who idealizes a celebrity or public figure as a flawless example of success and achievement without acknowledging any personal struggles or failures, mistakes, or shortcomings. The next one is identification. Identification is a defense mechanism that involves taking on the characteristics, attitudes, or behaviors of another person or group in order to reduce anxiety or gain acceptance. A person who becomes interested in a particular hobby or activity because it is popular or trendy among their peer group. Similarly, a person who adopts the political ideology or religious beliefs of their social group in order to fit in or avoid conflict. The next one is intellectualization. It is a defense mechanism that involves distancing oneself from emotions by focusing on the intellectual aspects of the situation. For example, a person who is experiencing relationship difficulties may focus on the theories and research on communication and conflict resolution rather than their own emotional reactions towards the issues. The next one is introjection. It is a defense mechanism that involves internalizing the beliefs, values, or attitudes of others without questioning or evaluating them. For example, a person who takes on the beliefs and values of a religious or political group without evaluating whether they align with their own personal values or beliefs. Similarly, a person who internalizes the cultural norms and values of a society without questioning whether they are fair or just. The next one is isolation. Isolation is a defense mechanism that involves separating thoughts, feelings, or memories from the rest of one's consciousness in order to avoid uncomfortable or painful emotions. For example, a person who talks about traumatic event in a detached and emotionless way as if it didn't happen to them. The next one is minimization. It is a defense mechanism that involves downplaying or denying significance of a situation or emotion in order to avoid facing uncomfortable, painful feelings. For example, a person who brushes off serious health concern as not a big deal, just a minor issue. A person who minimizes the impact of a traumatic event, saying things like, it wasn't that bad, or I have been through worse. A person who downplays their own achievements or accomplishments, saying things like, anyone could have done it. A person who ignores or denies their own emotions, saying things like, it doesn't bother me. The next one is projection. It is a defense mechanism that involves attributing one's own unacceptable thoughts or feelings to someone else. For example, a person who is struggling with jealousy may accuse their partner of being jealous instead. Similarly, a person who is dishonest accuses others of being dishonest or untrustworthy. The next one is rationalization. It is a defense mechanism that involves making excuses or justifying one's behavior to avoid feeling guilty or ashamed. For example, a student who fails an exam may blame the teacher for not providing adequate study materials. The next one is reaction formation. It is a defense mechanism that involves expressing the opposite of one's true feelings or impulses. For example, a person who has aggressive impulses may express exaggerated friendliness and kindness towards others. The next one is regression. It is a defense mechanism that involves returning to an earlier, more childlike way of coping with stress. A teenager who starts throwing temper tantrums when their parents set boundaries or expectations is an example. The next one is reparation. It is a defense mechanism that involves making amends or repairing a situation in order to reduce feelings of guilt or shame. This mechanism is used in situations where individuals have done something wrong or hurtful to others and feel a sense of responsibility for consequences of their actions. The act of making amends can help the individual feel better about themselves and to reduce negative emotions associated with the situation. For example, a person cheats on their partner, they may experience feelings of guilt and shame. To cope with these emotions, they may try to make amends by buying their partners gifts or going out of their way to do nice things for them. By doing this, they are attempting to repair the damage done to the relationship and reduce their own feelings of guilt. The next one is repression. It is a defense mechanism that involves unconsciously pushing unwanted or uncomfortable thoughts or feelings out of awareness. For example, a person who has experienced a traumatic event may have no conscious memory of the event. The next one is self blame. It is a defense mechanism which involves self criticism. For example, a victim in an abusive relationship thinking they are somehow responsible to provoke the partner and deserve to be abused. This is a maladaptive defense mechanism. Next one is splitting. It is a defense mechanism that involves seeing people, situations, or things as either all good or all bad, with no middle ground. For example, a person who sees themselves as either completely competent and successful, or completely incompetent and worthless, depending on their recent successes or failures. The next one is sublimation. It is a defense mechanism that involves channeling one's unacceptable impulses into socially acceptable behaviors. For example, a person who has a lot of aggressive impulses may channel that energy into sports or other physical activities. Next one is suppression. It is a defense mechanism that involves conscious decision to avoid or push away uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, or memories from one's awareness. Next one is symbolization. It is a defense mechanism in which an individual attributes symbolic or metaphorical meaning to a person, object, or event to reduce the anxiety or emotional impact associated with it. For example, an individual who has difficulty expressing their emotions may use art, music, or other creative outlets as a way of symbolizing their feelings. For example, a person who is struggling with feelings of sadness or loneliness may create a painting that includes dark colors symbolizing their emotions. Similarly, a person who is experiencing feelings of anger or frustration may engage in symbolic behaviors such as slamming the doors or breaking objects as a way of expressing their emotions indirectly. The next one is undoing. It is a defense mechanism that involves attempting to cancel out a negative action by thought or by performing a positive action or thought. For example, a person who feels guilty about not calling a friend and then sends them an extra thoughtful gift or message to make up for it. The last one is acting out. It is a defense mechanism that involves expressing uncomfortable or unacceptable emotions or impulses through physical or verbal actions. For example, a person who punches a wall or breaks an object when they feel angry or frustrated. Note that I have taken only those defenses that I felt are more common and important from my perspective, and there are a lot more of them which you can go through if you are interested. Now, let us look into uses of knowing about defense mechanisms. It protects us from psychological pain, feelings of rejection, humiliation, or guilt. It helps in preservation of self esteem, to become more self aware, improved coping skills to manage stress and anxiety, and communicate more effectively, improved problem solving skills, increased emotional intelligence to understand self and others, increased self reflection leading to personal growth and development, improved mental health, improved conflict resolution skills. It is important to note that defense mechanisms can be adaptive and serve a protective function in certain situations, but they can also become maladaptive and interfere with healthy emotional processing and interpersonal relationships. It is important to recognize and regulate defense mechanisms in order to promote healthy emotional expression and psychological well being. Now, we shall look into coping with maladaptive defense mechanisms. First, practice self awareness. It is a key to coping with defense mechanisms. You can practice self awareness by monitoring your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and looking for patterns that suggest you may be using a defense mechanism and reflecting on them. Next, understanding the triggers. It leads to use of defense mechanisms that can help individuals anticipate and prepare for stressful situations. Next is developing healthy coping strategies. Instead of relying on defense mechanisms, try to develop healthy coping strategies to allow you to deal with your emotions in a constructive way. This could involve engaging in mindfulness practices, exercising, or practicing relaxation techniques. Next, if you're struggling to cope with your defense mechanisms or underlying issues, consider seeking professional help. A therapist or counselor can provide you with the support and guidance you need to work through your issues and develop healthy coping strategies. Remember, coping with defense mechanisms takes time and effort, but with practice and support, you can learn to manage your defenses in healthy and constructive way, allowing you to live a more fulfilling and authentic life. We have come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. We hope you found this video informative and useful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Share it with someone who you think may get benefited with this video. Thank you.